B-boy. From the old to the new, still a B-boy. Too bold for the school, still a B-boy. East Coast to the West, B-boys worldwide. We supposed to be blessed, still a B-boy.
This week I have a hip-hop legend. You know him from classic songs like La Schmoove, Breakdown, True Fu-Schnick, and What's Up Doc featuring Shaquille O'Neal. 1/3 of one of the most influential hip-hop groups of the 90s, from Fu-Schnickens, Chip Fu. What's up, man?
Peace, brother. How are you, man?
I'm good. So do you remember the first time you heard hip-hop?
Yes, the first time I heard hip hop, it was actually being played in my backyard. But to the extent of when I knew it was hip hop, I think I was 10 or 11 years old, and it was a group called the Jam-A-Lot Crew. At the time, they were playing in my backyard for my brother's 16th birthday party. The Jam-A-Lot Crew actually was UTFO before they became UTFO.
Okay.
So that's the first time I, saw hip hop up close. I mean, Ice used to DJ at all of the block parties within the area. And, my brother used to just bring me to, all of the park jams and everything, So from young, I was just like the little kid that was standing behind the crates and watching these guys become what they became. You get me? So that was my first thing with hip hop.
So what was the vibe like in those early days? I always, I'm originally from Wisconsin, so I looked at it like I was born in the 70s, so I kind of came up when hip hop was coming up. So I looked at it as like, hey, we're kind of the same age, but you were its next door neighbor. You were in New York watching it actually develop. What were those vibes like in the early days?
Early days for me would be like, it was more so watching disco morph into something else, because there was these stages where music started to morph into different things, and they had different titles. Radio records were considered, regular radio records until hip hop came in and started blending with different records. Like, you had oh my God, I'm trying to remember his name. You had Run DMC, for instance. I'm just going to use them as an example. When they came on the scene, hip hop was not being played on, before they came on the scene, hip hop was not on radio until they made it. Once they got on radio, it became a radio friendly record and was part of the new standard of radio records. You get me?
Right.
So I watched hip hop from the beginning, when it was only being played in the parks, then being played just for at least a half an hour, either on WBLS or Kiss FM, to becoming the phenomenon it is now.
You're seeing hip hop actually being born. You become a fan. Who are some of your first favorite MCs?
My first favorite MC was Slick Rick. The reason being Slick Rick was because he's from England and my brother is from England.
Okay.
And my brother used to get these tapes from England from a group called Saxon Sound. And Saxon Sound actually heavily influenced me when it came to writing and double time flow. And that was early 80s, before people knew that flow was a flow, actually.
Right. And speaking of that, when did you start rapping, what age? And did you have you have a very unique flow, especially from the era you came from. People just weren't rapping like that.
Right.
Did that develop over time, or did you pretty much start with that somewhat of flow?
I mean, it developed from me listening to that sound system, Saxon, from England, and being that I'm of West Indian heritage, I was hearing totally different things when it came to tracks, period. So when a person is hearing a regular hip hop track, I'm hearing so many things that can go in the track because of what I'm used to hearing, and being able to play the trap drums, alto saxophone, and playing the steel drums. You know, I'm hearing all this instrumentation on regular tracks, so I approach it totally different, you know, from a different count actually.
Right.
So that I was writing in that sort of way from since 10 years old.
Wow. So at what point then do you meet the other members of Fu-Schnickens and talk about the formation of the group?
Well, I met Pac and I grew up across the street from each other. We're childhood friends. Mock and Pac went to high school. Mock and Pac actually formed the group, the Fu-Schnickens, and I was the last member to join the group. This was right out of high school. Right out of high school, we tried, you know, I got into all these competitions and talent shows in the city, and I won all the talent shows. You know, they had the reggae versus hip hop and hip hop versus reggae.
Mhm.
I would get on stage and just sign up for both and win both. And from there, we decided to just go into the demo stages. First song I recorded was Ring the Alarm.
Okay.
Then from then we started not really touring, we just started doing a lot of spot dates. We weren't signed as yet, and we caught the attention of Sophia Chang at Howard University, and from there it just, that's where our story began. You know, Jive Records signed us, and we did pretty damn well for ourselves, you know, dropping the albums that we did, gold and platinum singles, etc.
Right.
Until we decided to just, you know, just leave Jive altogether because they wanted us to change our format of music. So the only way we could have gotten out the contract was to actually break up as a group to get out of the contract. But they still held us onto a publishing deal. So we couldn't go anywhere else and do any music because Jive would still own it. So, you know, now that we're totally out, you know, of everything, you know, I mean, within those years, I was always putting out like a single here and there or whatever, just buzzing up to let people know. But, you know, people don't know your business. They just think that you're being lazy and not putting out music, but there's a lot of legalities that people don't know about. So that was the reason why there's been a super hiatus when it came to music. But other than that, that's been our run, man. We did pretty good for ourselves in the industry. Wrote for a lot of other people, especially Shaquille O'Neal. Platinum album, platinum singles, and yeah, we introduced the first first basketball hip hop artist to the game. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big part of history that I'm glad that I could say that we were a part of.
Yeah, that record was huge. You know, how did that come to be? I believe I heard a story where he was interviewed and said that he was a fan of Fu-Schnickens, and that's how you connected. Is that how it went down?
He said he was a fan of Fu-Schnickens. I think his people got in touch with Flavor Unit. Flavor Unit were managing us at the time. They flew us to Orlando. The record What's Up Doc was already recorded, right? It was already recorded. Okay. So we were going to put it out. Well, we didn't put it out because of the sample What's Up Doc and Michael Jordan. They had out the movie at the time. So Warner Brothers was like, no, you can't put it out. So then we said, can we rock What's Up Doc and change the chorus? So since it was already finished, we was like, and we were in between albums, we was like, well, this would be a dope single to put out. I said, yo, Shaq, why don't you jump on this single? You know, we set up studio time, and he went in there and recorded his verse like he was a vet. You know, no help, anything, just small coaching. We didn't write anything for this young guy, and he just destroyed it. And then from then on, any late night show that wanted him to come on and talk, he told them, I'm not coming on there to talk. I'm coming on there to perform my song with, the Fu-Schnickens. So that helped us tremendously. You know what I'm saying? And that's when history just started. You get me? We started doing records together, and we just kept going from there, which is crazy now to look back and look at this. You know, there's never been a phenomenon like that since, where an artist was brought from a totally different thing or job that they normally would do into the rap game to actually do something, and they actually succeed.
Right.
You know, he's the only rap art. He's the only athlete to rhyme with the likes of Biggie and Snoop Dogg and to have his own label. I mean, successfully as an athlete being an artist. You know, everybody else at the stride is not even, you know, peaked at his peak as of yet. So that's a pretty good thing.
I agree. You know, Shaq was more than just a novelty. He actually could MC. Right. So he was the real deal. I completely agree with that. So you got the first record came out. Lush Move was my jam. Then you got the song with Shaq. Then the next album, with the single Breakdown, that was an Eric Sermon beat, if I remember correctly.
It was a producer that was under Eric Sermon's camp named Rod Kirkpatrick.
Gotcha.
He produced that beat. We wanted to try something totally different because we didn't want to be that group that everybody was like, oh, they're just strictly an East Coast group with an East Coast sound. So we dropped Breakdown, and it just shook up the industry, you know, because now everybody was trying to guess where we were from. You know, it was no longer, it was people trying to find out where we were from, even though we were telling them that we were from Brooklyn. They were just like, you can't be because you did a record like Breakdown. You guys got to be from the Midwest. And we were like, no, we're from, you know, East Flatbush, Brooklyn. But that was always us as creatives. We always wanted to try something different. And it was totally accepted. People loved the record. But I think that's when Jive wanted to actually change how we were recording and actually have us work with other producers. And we didn't want to work with any other producers because to our knowledge, we're saying everything that we do, you guys like. So why would you want us to try anything, you know, totally different from what we've been doing? So that's when we decided to just, we knew it was time to actually make changes, you know.
And that album also had the Some Dumb Monkey, which I love that song. Your verse on that is so unique. You like slow it down, and then there's all these really cool elements that
thank you, man.
Are really groundbreaking. You know, at the time, mid 90s, I'm, you know, late teens, early 20s, and my mind's blown about how you could take it and completely innovate it in a different way, you know, vocally. So nothing but respect for that. That verse always stood out to me. So out of all the people you got to work with, I'm sure there's tons. Who was your favorite one or two people that you've gotten to work with?
Queen Latifah was the favorite for me. Heavy D,
rest in peace.
For me. Rest in peace to Heavy. Pete Rock. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, but I mean, watching hip hop develop and to actually get to do a song with Queen Latifah, which was the Roll with the Flavor song, and to have so many heavyweights on that song, you know, Black Sheep, Naughty by Nature.
Was on there, yep.
Yeah, you know, it was one of those moments for me, you know, that was kind of like a bucket list where I was able to check off like a whole bunch of numbers, you know what I mean? But that's one of the records that you know, it kind of put me in that position to be like, yeah, I've made it, kind of. You know, everybody was like, well, you know, the whole Shaq thing. I was like, yeah, but no, I didn't grow up looking at Shaq. I grew up looking at Latifah and watching this whole native tongue thing unfold, and then to be able to have you know, people from the native tongues actually produce and get on records with me. And, you know, I became a part of that branch, that whole native tongue branch. And that to me, that was what I thought, you know, was the thing for me. Like after that, I just ripped up the bucket list and was like, all right, you know, I'm basically looked upon as one of the guys from native tongues now. And this is something that I watched brewing from, you know, the early 80s, man. That was incredible to me.
And you guys started, you know, I mentioned Lush Move, that's got Phife Dawg.
Produced by Tribe Called Quest, you know.
Right.
Come on.
I like to ask every guest if they have any one or two crazy show memories, something wild that just happened at a live show.
Two things. There was a Thanksgiving show that was not promoted too well, and I think that was like in '92. It was at a college. And I remember the college, one of the guys from the college came with the check and was like, well, there's no one out there, but, it's our fault. We got your check. He said, but listen, there's one person out there. And he said, there's one person and that person's in a wheelchair. I said, really? So I said, when we walked on stage, I said, yo, turn on the lights. And then I saw the guy in the wheelchair and he had on a Fu-Schnickens t-shirt and everything else. And I'm like, so you came all the way here for this show? He said, yeah, you guys are my favorite group. So everybody was like, just give him back his money and, take some pictures with him. But I was like, nah, let's give him the show. So we told him to come up in the front, man. Just, wheel yourself up in the front, man. This is your show, for the night. You know what I'm saying? And we just performed the whole entire show, 45 minutes for him, man. And to me, that was life-changing for me because I know it's a day he would never forget.
Right.
Because the whole stadium was just him.
That's crazy.
And, that's just him sitting there watching and just enjoying himself, man. Another one was, I remember we went to a show in Canada and there's these girls outside and they was like, can you sign my picture? I was like, security was pushing us in the building. I was like, well, when I come outside. Now, the hotels in Canada were real close, like this.
Mm-hmm.
So this girl actually got between the hotel and climbed the walls, did the Spider-Man thing. And I remember we was on the 6th floor. And I remember walking in the hallway and I saw somebody tuck and roll from the window. Like the person came through the window and just tucked and roll. And I was like, yo, you're the girl from downstairs that wanted, she was like, yes. And she was like, all I want is you guys' autograph. So we signed it. And I'm standing there looking, I was like, all right, she's gonna take the stairs of the elevator. She went back outside. She went back, kind of like when you looked at on Martin, when you see Bruh Man. And
yeah.
Bruh Man he has to go and take the fire escape. She went out the window, just put her hands on the walls and her legs on the wall and climbed back down. And I was like, yo, that's one of the most craziest things I ever. So we just all opened the window and just made sure she got down safe. Like, all right, well, she got to the bottom and looked up and waved and ran. I was like, bro, we on the 7th floor. That was crazy to me, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about Black Ink Entertainment, how that came to be, the whole formation of that.
Well, Black Ink Entertainment is my own production company. And what I wanted to do this time around was to make sure that I developed a platform for myself along with producers and other artists that want to put out music. So I will be the first person to put out music on Black Ink. I mean, before, it was the same thing that I was doing, just running around, dropping singles. And now we're actually about to put out a full-fledged project called Royal Blood on Black Ink. And yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point where it doesn't make any sense to sign directly to a label because you already know what's going to happen. You might as well just keep control of what's yours, actually. You know what I mean? I've learned enough from doing the Fu-Schnickens stuff and the Shaq stuff to get to this point where where I'm able to say, starting my own company. It was kind of hard in the beginning because you know how people are. Oh, he's an artist, he's doing whatever. But it's more so about the legacy and making sure that from my point of view, people understand real hip hop, not taking anything away from what's happening now. And through Black Ink, I was able to start the math workshops, Math Music Initiative, MATH, which is an acronym for Music Appreciation, Art, Time, and Healing, that I've been, me and my team have been teaching in schools for about 9 years now. So on the performance side will more so be Black Ink Productions, to put out artists. And then the other side would be MATH, where we're actually in schools, teaching the history of hip hop and making sure that, it's making sure that, even though it's going through its changes, you understand where it actually developed from and who got what from what, you know?
Yeah, that's I love that you guys are doing that, because so many kids don't know the forefathers, the people who built this thing. That
Exactly.
I tried to explain to a kid in his early 20s how when I was a kid falling in love with hip hop, it was still looked at as a fad. It wasn't something that was supposed to last.
Exactly.
His whole life has been the most popular music in the world. But I'm trying to explain this to him, and it's
Right.
foreign. It's foreign to him. But yeah, more kids need to know the found. I mean, history in general, people should know history of all things.
Definitely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask a couple basic hip hop questions that I like to
No
ask
problem.
everyone.
Mm-hmm.
If you could only listen to one MC the rest of your life, who would that be?
Besides myself, I would have to say one MC for the rest of my life. How many questions you have for me?
Just a handful yet.
All right, so let's come back to that, because I got to really think about that one. That's a real good one. That's
Next
a real
ones
good question.
can be tough too. They get harder actually.
It's all good, but that's a tough one right there.
Yeah, it's hard. If you're on a deserted island, you can only bring 5 albums with you. What are those albums?
Oh, that's easy. It will be any 2 albums from A Tribe Called Quest, any 2, right? That will be the 2. I would have to have Slick Rick's album. I would have to have Dr. Dre's album and Snoop. No. Dr. Dre's album and KRS One.
So aliens invade Earth and they hear about something called hip hop, and they come to you and you have to explain hip hop to them by playing one song. What's the one song that completely explains hip hop to someone who knows nothing about it?
The Message.
That's a good one, right?
I would play The Message, and then after I play The Message, I would talk to them about hip hop after they heard the message.
Right.
But it would be The Message.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. So my next ones I call them this or that. And I'm gonna give you 2 options. Pick what you think is a better option.
You can get with this or you can get with that. You can get with this or you can get with that. You can get with.
So I'm doing albums. Fu-Schnickens, FU Take It Personal or Nervous Breakdown?
FU Don't Take It Personal.
Yeah, that'd be my pick too. Public Enemy, Nation of Millions or Fear of a Black Planet?
Fear of a Black Planet. A lot of people slept on that album, but that was an incredible album to me. Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned Dre before. I got Dr. Dre's A Chronic or Snoop Doggy Style?
Snoop Doggy Style.
Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory or Midnight Marauders?
Shit.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right?
Low End Theory.
Yeah, it's my favorite tribe. All right. Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full or Big Daddy Kane, Long Live the King? I told you they get harder.
Eric B. and Rakim.
Eric Sermon's solo stuff or EPMD?
Oh, EPMD.
KRS-One solo or BDP?
Shit. I'd say KRS-One solo.
Production, Pete Rock or DJ Premier?
I'm friends with both of them. I wish there was a producer named Premier Rock,
Right.
And it'll make so much sense to me. I'm gonna go with Pete. I'm gonna go with Pete Rock. That's so hard. But I'm gonna go with Pete because, oh my God, no, I can't say that because oh wow, Premier has produced some other stuff outside of hip hop too. So let's come back to that. There's 2 questions I gotta come back to.
All right. Now I got classic hood movies. West Coast, Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society?
Boys in the Hood, a Menace to Society. Oh, Menace to Society.
And then the East Coast version is Juice or New Jack City?
That's a good one. See, Juice I'm gonna say New Jack City,
Nice.
because to New Jack City was actually real. New Jack City was real. Juice was very fictional, but New Jack City was actually real. There were drug dealers who actually took over apartment buildings. So seeing that sort of stuff on television, not trying to sound funny, was not, I mean, in the movies, was not brand new to some people on the East Coast because of certain areas that they lived in, where the drug dealer would basically be selling drugs within, the building. You know what I mean? So I would say that one.
So that was really, not that I doubted it happened, but like the Nino and the Carter was
Yes,
really happening
that
in
was
real
real.
life. Yeah,
Yes, that was
that's
real.
crazy. So my last section is I name an MC and I ask you to say the first thing that comes to mind when you hear their name.
No problem.
Fife Dog.
Well, here's a funky introduction of how nice I am. That's it. That's a hard one right there. Because that was my boy right there.
Yeah, going too soon.
Yeah.
MC Light.
Hot damn hole, here we go again.
Next, I got Ice-T.
Colors, 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 colors.
Such a dope song.
Yes.
Another one, Gone Too Soon, Biz Markie.
What the Vapors. Yeah, that was my record right there.
Wow.
More so than Said He's Just a Friend. Vapors was my joint. Yeah.
My joint was Make the Music with Your Mouth, Biz.
Dope. That was a dope record
Yep.
too. Dope record.
Grand Poobah.
Step to the rear, Grand Poo is on arrival. Raised in the ghetto, singing songs called survival. Running around town, giving all the girls Pooba stacks. You couldn't try to steal the stallion, just might catch a cardiac. Figure the way to get paid is the. Oh my God, that was my dude right there. That's one of the dudes that made me hit the pen real hard. Grand Poo, yes.
How about Eminem?
Eminem, I would say, he has a lot of moments. I would say, hi kids, do you like violence? Would you like to stick 9-inch nails in one of my eyelids? Try to copy me and do exactly what I did. Try skid and get fucked up worse than my life did. My brain's dead weight. Try to, you know what I'm saying? That's classic M for me.
The ill ass lines when he first came on the scene.
Yes.
Freddie Fox, Bumpy Knuckles, whatever you want to call
Burn marks on my hip from the twin Glocks.
him. How about Master Ace?
It's just me and the Biz. Just knowing that he couldn't get Biz Markie to do his part, and that he played the part. He wrote the rhyme for Biz Markie, and then he tried to do Biz voice and his voice on one record was dope to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Master Ace is so underrated. He doesn't get talked
Very.
about enough. I mean, he's so talented.
Very underrated.
Roxanne Shante.
You know what's weird about Roxanne Shante? I'm trying to remember. Not all girls like to get involved with bookworms. That's the line.
Diamond D.
Diamond D. Hey yo, peep it. That's the line. I forgot what record that was. Hey yo, peep it. That's the line from Diamond D, I'd say.
Couple more. Common.
I used to love her.
Such a great song. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
D.
Wow, Wow West. The original Wow, Wow West.
Easy-E.
Straight out of Compton, but I'm trying to. No, I used to like that record. Easy. Boom, boom. They call me Easy. And then when it came to his part in the video, he came out of the screen.
Oh yeah, what was that? That was We Want Easy.
We Want Easy. There you go.
Yeah,
that was my record.
And lastly, I got Jam Master Jay.
There's so many things I could say about Jam Master Jay. I could say Jam Master Jay would run just Jam Master Jay. Because, you know, Run DMC always said Jam Master Jay, or I could say Jam Master Jay when Onyx said Jam Master Jay. Or I could say Jam Master Jay when the Afros said Jam Master Jay, you know? So that's all I would say for Jam Master Jay is his name, because it held so much weight, just period being his name.
Right. So do you know the one MC you would listen to the rest of your life?
Dude, the one MC I would listen to for the rest of my life. I think because I'm getting older, it has to be something thought-provoking and it can't be too kiddish, because, you know, whatever it is that I'm doing for the rest of my life, I should be able to teach and expound on certain things. And it can't just be the regular. So I would say KRS-One, reason being, the older he gets, the more intense he gets, the more dope he gets on the mic. And he's always at a point where he's teaching. It's never been a point where he was just about foolishness. That's one MC for me that was just, he'd give you that boom bap and that raw stuff and tell the truth, but he was always teaching. It would be KRS-One.
Yeah, and he's got a deep catalog, so you'd have a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
Do you know who you're picking between Pete Rock and Premier? Or is it just a tie?
I'd have to call that a tie. That one I can't call, because
That's fair.
I always wanted to work with Premier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Premier brought me this beat. No, it wasn't Premier. It was Salam Remy. Those are my three. It was Salam Remy, Pete Rock, and Premier. I never got to work with Premier. One day I met him up at Jive. And he's like, yo, I'm gonna make a beat for you. And I waited for that beat. The beat never came.
Still waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for it. And then Pete Rock was like, yo, I got a beat for you. And I was like, all right. But then I want to say 5 years ago, we did a record called Ready for the War, which was huge overseas and huge here in New York. And I remember seeing Sean Price one day on the train, and he ran up on me. He said, yo, that Ready for War is my favorite record. I was like, wow, really? He was like, yo, that joint is crazy. I was like, all right, cool. So to this day, a lot of people is like, you know, you and Pete need to get back in the studio and do a full length EP, you know, because that's the first time they ever heard him do a reggae record that didn't sound like your typical chop sample Pete Rock. It sounded like an incredible reggae record from an artist no one has ever heard. So, you know, but then his Premier, man, it's a tie, bro. It's a tie.
That's fine. I can live with that. So you have any pluggables to plug? What you got going on? Where can people get at you on social media?
Social media, at Chip Fu on Instagram, at Chip Fu on Twitter. You know, 2 pages on Facebook, at Chip Fu, and then there's the Roderick Chip Fu Roachford. I'm plugging that Black Ink Entertainment. We're up and running, and it's a beautiful thing for us. Look out for an artist called Leland. He's from the West Coast, and he has a record coming out that's incredible. Just look out for a lot of guest appearances from myself on a lot of albums. I'm not even going to quote or name any. And look out for the album that I'm about to put out called Royal Blood. It's incredible. I have to say it's incredible. It's one of my best pieces of work that I've put together that, you know, the world needs to hear. That's why it's been taking so long, along with all the other legalities with the publishing and all that other stuff. So people just, you know, look out for that. Yeah, and a lot more surprises, man. And thank you for having me. You know, definitely.
No, thank you. I mean, groups like yours were the soundtrack to my childhood. So it's an honor being able to talk to you. I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother, for doing what you're doing, and at least having a platform for people to come on and say their stories, man. You know, we don't get, we never are. There's not a lot of platforms that people can go on where they could actually say their stories and their pieces. And so when we get on these platforms, or we're asked to do these things, you know, we have to actually say, you know, thank you to the host for even thinking that, you know, this man's story needs to be said. So I thank you.
Hey, it's an honor. So thank you again.
No problem.
And I'll be looking out for that new album when it drops.
All right, no problem, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah. All right. Everybody really want to know how I'm gonna flow. I don't know. I suppose I'm gonna leave a nigga frozen in souls over his nose. And an overdose in the hole. Yo, I'm getting to the motherfucker. Y'all niggas better get ready, sharpen your swords and eliminate your flow. Cause I'm about to do it. Yo, I'm about to do it. When I do it, I'm gonna do it all again.
Gonna do it all again.
Anytime that I rhyme and to pick up a pen, spew sickness again. Sick with a sickness that's addictive. When the script is sickness, you're addicted and you wanna listen and dan. I'ma give you a little bit, chicken to the wrist, and I'm gonna miss when I better this. To the end of this, a relentless lyricist. Here I go again.
Here we go again.
Running off at the mouth, I'm spitting out, yo, making out, middle finger up, better play it loud. Turn it down, put it down, leave me now in the single bound, you're the John, yo, when I come around. Is it me lyrically wicked with lyrics? He can't call or visit me. Dabbling in the lab is where I be. He be dubbing and bugging the fuck out. You MCs, y'all fucking lucked out, so it's time for one big cookout. Look out, I'm a sweetest, kinda stupid, kinda fluid. I'ma do it new student, time fluid, west fluid, so you better get your pants.
Better get your fucking pants.
Everybody really wanna know what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna spew, do, chip fool, gonna rip through, let loose, that I do what I do when it comes to this tune, when I stick a bitch. Any beat, any rhythm, you give him what I give him, bid them and hit them with something different. I came to shift it with lyrics and bust your prism. So fee, follow and pay your $10 I make, you holla. Anytime that I'm on the mic, I'ma tip it down, y'all. A wee wild that I'll make, your fee, follow that I'll make, your lead line up outside of the record store just above my album. Man, the shit he come up with, does it come up from his stomach? Does he fart it out of his buttocks? So come on, man, tell me what up. This dude is a cause of brother and wonder what should I think? Does he need a damn drink? I got the answer, man, this nigga thinks. I hear you mumbling about my new thing. Is this nigga gonna rap and jack or is he gonna sing? I was hearing all your whispers, man, I started to grin. You want a word that's gonna sum up what the fuck I'ma bring?
Yo, it's ridiculous. When I step inside the booth, yo, it's ridiculous. Spit what I spit, you crack a tune. It's ridiculous. Yo, I'll leave all you dudes confused. Yo, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yo, it's ridiculous. This happens when it's time to spit. Yo, it's ridiculous. Spit till my mouth gets dry as shit. It's ridiculous. Don't ask me, bro, it's what it is. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.